Gentlemen, what's up? Today I'm going to show you exactly how to process an animal. Now what you're going to see, the animal is starting on the table. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. There are some steps I leave out, like field dressing or gutting and skinning. Maybe I'll make a separate video on those if you guys want that. But today it's kind of just going to be how to take an animal that's already been broken down into its rough form, how to take that and how to clean it up and get it freezer ready. Now, I'm doing a deer in this video, but this is going to apply to literally anything that's a mammal. So cows, pigs, whatever, sheep. They're a little bit different, but they're all very similar. Now, for things like cows and pigs, you have specific steaks. Deer, you really don't. You just have the loin, which I'll show you how to do. But with that being said, let's get into it. Alright, so as you can see me start to do here, I have the deer laid out on the table. Now we have 2 front shoulders, 2 rear quarters, 2 loin strips that come off the back, and then 2 neck roasts. Now, when it comes to cutting, there are a couple premises. The first thing I want to start with is I am not a professional butcher, and when it comes to things like getting specific cuts of meat, specific roasts, that's not the focus of the video. I'm not very good at that. What I am good at is taking an animal like a deer, which generally what we do with is we take the big roasts, we turn those into jerky or something, so I'll get those, you'll see me do that. We take the loins, we turn those into steaks because you do not want to waste those, those are very good. Same thing with the neck roast, sometimes we grind them. And everything else, we just basically cut it off the bone, clean it up, and we grind it for ground meat. Now, a couple premises of cutting this way. The basic idea is we want to get the meat off the bone, and then we want to separate it into what we want. So that sounds simple in theory, but there are a couple things we got to keep in mind. First thing is we don't want to destroy the big roasts. Now these front shoulders I'm working on where I start, that's not really going to be a problem. Especially this deer was not very big, so there really aren't many front big roasts in this deer. I'm just going to grind both front shoulders. So as you see me here, I'm just cutting it off the bone. The bone's kind of like V-shaped. It's a V with like a sticker. That's kind of what it looks like. So basically what you just got to do is you got to cut against the bone, kind of like filleting a fish if you've ever done that before. And you need to get the meat off the bone. Once the meat is off the bone, the next step, which you're going to see, is you need to clean it up. So on an animal like a cow or a pig, I'm not sure about sheep. I know I mentioned that at the start, but I've never done sheep. Fat is good. Cow fat, people love it. They fry things in it. A fatty steak, who doesn't love a fatty steak, right? Fatty pork chops, bacon, we all love it, right? Well, deer fat is not like that. Deer fat is disgusting. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. You can do whatever you want. I didn't believe it. I was told that by some old-timers. I didn't believe it. I then tried deer steak with fat, and I almost wanted to throw up. It is disgusting. It has like a sand texture. It's very gritty. It's not good. We need to trim all that fat off. So as this whole front shoulders, they're going into the grind pile. We still need to clean them up. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect because what's going to happen is if you make your meat absolutely perfect, no fat or like that silver skin, as you can see, that's what we call it. It's like that film on top of the meat. You can have some of that in there. It's okay. If you try and make it perfect, you are going to waste a lot of meat in the process, and it's worth it to have a little bit. We just need to get rid of all the big stuff. Premise number 2 of cutting up a deer is, or an animal, when we're trying to remove the fat, we need to get most of it, but depending on what it is, it doesn't need to be perfect. Now, my steaks, I like to make as perfect as possible because we're not grinding those together. We're not mixing it. We are just eating them as is. So if you have a little bit of fat, it's not going to be dispersed throughout the whole batch. It's just going to be concentrated, and that is going to be absolutely disgusting. So that's kind of the premise. We need to get it off the bone. Now, there are proper ways to do this, like if you wanted to watch a professional butcher do this, which I'm not, I'm sure they make it look a lot easier than I do. But keep in mind, I am just some guy who's been doing this for a couple years. I've only done, a handful of deer, maybe about 10 now, or helped with in my life. So I don't have a ton of practice, but I still have developed pretty good skills in the process. So the whole point of making this video is to show you that, hey, if I can do it with someone with limited knowledge, you can do it too. It's really not that bad. So once we get all the meat off the bone of the front shoulder, we're going to grind it up. So as you'll see me start to do, I make piles. Now, I'm going to start with the front shoulders. I go to, I believe, the rear quarters. I'm recording this voiceover after. I go to the rear quarters and the loins. So the rear quarters are where our big steaks are, our big roasts. Now, personally, I'm going to take these roasts. I want to keep them as whole as possible, and I'm going to make deer jerky out of them. Maybe I'll post a deer jerky recipe coming to you soon. We'll see. But basically, another premise that I want to explain to you is kind of how the muscle groups work. So if you look at this back and you look at me doing this camera angle was a little bit high recording this, so I do apologize for that. It could have been a little better. But what you'll see here is this deer is young, so it is easier. It is not old and tough. But you can almost like peel the muscles apart. There's not a lot of cutting that you have to do sometimes. You kind of got to make some cuts to free some things up, but you can get it started, especially the back quarters, like that big roast that I'm working on. I want to save that for jerky. I want to save all the big pieces I can for the meat slicer, because jerky, you can put 5 pounds in and get less than a pound back. So jerky, it dries down, you get rid of a lot of volume. So I want to keep as much as I can. So that's what you're going to see me do. Now, everybody likes to do their animals differently. Me personally, I like to have steaks. I like to have roast for jerky, or sometimes we'll just slow cook the roast. That's also a very good option. And I just like to grind the rest, because for grinding it, you can make burgers, you can make tacos, you can make like pastas, you can make anything you want. It's pretty versatile, and honestly, I really like the flavor. A recipe that I did was I made breakfast burritos out of ground venison, eggs, cheese, and it was very good. I would recommend giving that one a try. Again, maybe I'll make a video on that coming to you soon. So that's what you're going to see me do. That's the premises of meat cutting. You want to, A, get it to this form. Now, I might make a video, if I can get another deer this year, on how to field dress and or skin it out. But that's pretty easy. There are many YouTube videos you can watch that if you don't know what you're doing. Once you do that, you're going to get it on a table like this. You're going to quarter it out. That's very easy. Quartering is not very hard. It's pretty simple. Again, there's other YouTube videos on it. Once it's on the table, the premises are, let's get it off the bone as efficiently as we can. This whole deer only took me a couple hours, and I had other things going on kind of while I was doing it. So, it doesn't take crazy amounts of time. So let's get it off the bone. Then once we get it off the bone, we got to decide what we want to do with it. Are we keeping roasts? Are we going to grind the roast? Are we keeping steaks? What are we doing? Once you've done that, once everything is off the bone, once it's all deboned, then we need to clean it up. We need to get rid of as much fat and that silver skin as possible, tendons, get rid of those. You can leave a little bit, as you'll see my finished pile. It's not perfect. There definitely still is some fat and silver skin there, but it's a lot better than what it was. And just a little bit you won't notice, but it's when you have a lot that it's a problem. So that's it. That's the premises of meat cutting. And then as you'll see me do here, I start to package it. Now, packaging is simple. I have my brother shot a deer this year, so we already have that in the freezer. What I'm going to do is, big rifle season is happening next weekend. So after that, I hope to shoot a deer. I probably will, just because there's a lot of deer around here, and it's been track record year after year. So I want to shoot another deer, so that would be 3 deer for our family in total. Then I'm going to take all of the grind, all of the roasting. We're going to do a big batch of grind and a big batch of jerky all at once, just so we we get everything out, we get a little system going, we got to only dirty this stuff once. So what I do for packaging is I put all the scrap and the roasts, I put them in bags and label them. I don't know if I have footage of me labeling them. If I do, I'll lay it over this voice right now. But all I label is like scrap 2025 or roasts 2025. And then for the steaks, what I do is I just like to put them in freezer paper. Makes it easy. Now, personally, I'm the only one in my family who eats venison steaks by themselves. No one else really prefers them. They like the jerky and the grind. So what I do is I put quite a few in one package, because what I'll do is I'll take them out, I'll grill a bunch of them, and I'll eat them throughout the week. I don't, just put like 1 or 2 in there. Plus, they're kind of small, and each deer is a little different. So what I'll do is I'll just cut out a piece of freezer paper. I'll put the number of steaks that I want. It's not a set number. It's right around 6, I think. And I will put them in the freezer like that. I'll label them steaks 2025, and that's it. Then you just got to be smart. Now, if you're doing a really big deer, like I shot a deer 2 years ago, and we got over 100 pounds of meat off of it. This deer, I probably only got around 20 to 25 pounds. So I got 4 times the amount of meat off that deer. If you're doing a really big deer, be careful about putting that all in the freezer at once. If you have other stuff, if you have a really slow freezer, what's going to happen, it could take a few days to freeze all that, and it's going to warm your other stuff up. So just be very careful about overloading the freezer. But we have a very powerful freezer, and it's only 20 pounds of meat. We'll be fine. And that's a wrap. Now, I hope you guys, after watching this video, have a general idea on how to do your own animal. I think it's a skill that every man should be able to do. Every guy should be able to see quarters of an animal is what that was, and break them down and get them freezer ready. This is a good skill to have. You may never use it, but who knows? It may come to a day where you need to have a skill like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, anything you want, drop it in the comments below. If it gets enough attention, I'll probably make a video on it. So with that being said, thank you for watching. If you liked it, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.